They said it was impossible. They said,
you can't put together the most elite team of comic book reviewers on the planet and do, a podcast or something like that?
Despite all that, today we can proudly announce. Yeah, they were right. We couldn't do it. So instead, we brought you the most vile, ignorant, unprofessional group of comic book enthusiasts we could find. This is Panel to Panel, the Game Rage Magazine comic podcast.
To a brand new episode of Panel to Panel with a brand new series that we're going to be starting, Hyde Street. This is not this is hot off the presses. It just came out like October 1st.
Yeah. So wait, who's it from? I mean, because I know who the writer is, Jeff Johns, who you might know for Green Lantern and basically revitalizing the DC universe back 10 years ago and such. But this is it's from Image. Okay,
yeah,
I didn't know if it was part of that new imprint distillery, but this is Image.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing this one, and then originally we were going to do the Cadillacs and Dinosaurs.
I read 3 issues of it. I'm like, I can't fucking read. I didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, it's bad, man. Like, I didn't realize how bad it was, but I mean, it is what it is. So we pivoted, and now we're going to go to this. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do this one, and then, I don't know, because this is only going to come out, like, either monthly, or I don't know how often they're going to do this one.
I imagine this one's probably going to be monthly, but maybe we could find something else to substitute.
Yeah, well, in the meantime, there's going to be this Hyde Street, and then there's that one called Devour, which is like a one-shot Hyde Street related thing.
Yeah.
So obviously that comes out October 30th, so you'll see that one as well. Mm-hmm. But for the weekly stuff, I don't know. We're still working on fitting another comic in to be on the reg on the weekly shit. But we'll have that for you probably next week, potentially. So
don't put a timeline on it. I will figure out when we fucking figure it out.
Figure it out when we figure it out. Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. You'll get it when you get it. How about that? Just be fucking happy with what you get now, all right? Anyways, before we get into this issue, number 1 of Hyde Street, if you want to follow us, since we're so nice and treat you so well, if you want to follow us on fucking YouTube and hear all of our other shit, you can go to YouTube, Game Rage Magazine, like, comment, and subscribe.
Additionally, yeah, buddy.
Additionally, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Game Rage Magazine, Twitter/X at Game Rage Mag. You can follow Adam if you like music. You can follow Adam at All Gas No Trash Official on Instagram, and go check out the All Gas No Trash podcast. Also, if you like anime and manga, you can follow Frank at anime_syndicate_podcast and go check out the Anime Syndicate podcast. All right, Hyde Street, number 1. Obviously, this is brand new, no expectations. I knew nothing about this going into it. So we open up with the cover of this old-timey, like, kind of a street sign image with Hyde Street on it. And we have a dude on the front cover. This was giving me PTSD of Daredevil with the fucking little lines. I was like, oh shit, is this Daredevil 2.0? Is Daredevil going to show up in this?
Yeah.
And we get Mr. X-Ray, it says on the top of the glasses, and you just see a bunch of devilish, hellish figures in the fucking reflection of his glasses. So I'm going to read this little thing real quick just because it's interesting.
Yeah.
But it's the opening up. It says, there is a street just right around the corner, both familiar and unknown. A street branching off every small town square and cutting through every big city avenue. It is a place where the wicked and cruel are drawn to the crossroads of morality and madness, with the inevitable destination of not merely death, but something far worse. This is the street of men and monsters. It is a place we call Hyde Street. And then we see 2 pictures of one of Mr. X-Ray and then another one of this kid called Pranky.
And this is a book written by, go up?
Jeff Johns.
Yeah, Jeff Johns and Ivan Reis, who previously worked together on Green Lantern, and they're one of the big things that they did, one of the achievements, accolades that they did in their Green Lantern run was Blackest Night, and Ivan Reis was the artist for that. And you have Danny Miki, and then Brad Anderson. These are like, this is basically an all-star team.
Yeah.
Of comic people, so.
Yeah, you can tell for sure. Like, it shows.
None of the art's sloppy. It's all fucking good.
Yeah, it's all great. And so then we open up with a picture of Hyde Street on the, it's like a street sign, Hyde Street, under construction. And we see this old lady with groceries. Oh, dearie me. And it just shows you this fucking just big ass, like, goddamn, you would think for being like a construction scene or whatever, right? Like, you wouldn't think that this attention to detail would have been drawn in here, but goddamn, man,
it's the gravel thing for me is that they even bothered to do something like that.
Yeah,
and then
man.
It's a really interesting perspective.
Yeah,
it's not exactly fish lens, but it's like a wide,
it's like a wide angle,
wide panoramic view.
And so the old lady's like, oh, what am I gonna do? Because the crosswalk's out of order. And so then you hear a voice off screen say, excuse me, young lady. And you see this little fucking kid, and he says, can I help you cross the street? He's wearing a Boy Scout uniform, and he's got all of his little fucking Boy Scout tools on. He's got his patches and all this shit. And I'm gonna tell you, man, when I saw this fucking kid, I was like, this is not gonna end well. There is something fishy with this little bastard. Like, first panel of showing his ass, I'm like, I don't like this motherfucker. Something's wrong with this.
Yeah, I was waiting for him to have not brown hair but ginger, because I always feel like the sinister characters are
ginger.
Usually,
yeah.
And he kind of looks like what's that bastard's name from the Mad Magazine?
Alfred. Yeah, a little bit. The guy on the cover.
Yeah.
And so she's just, the old lady's like, oh my word, where did you come from? And that sold it for me. I was like, oh yeah, this kid's bad news right here. This kid's gonna fuck some shit up right now. And so he's like, oh, I'm from troop number 422 trying to get my support a senior citizen badge. May I carry your groceries? They look awfully heavy. And she's like, oh, yes. And he's like, come on now. You can walk with me. It's safe. Do you live around here? And so in typical old person fucking fashion, boomer fashion, he asks a simple question. Do you live around here? And she literally goes into her life fucking story. Oh, I was born in Montgomery originally, but my husband and I moved here after he got a job at the accounting firm down the street. Bitch, he didn't ask you none of that. So then she's like, oh, that was such a long time ago now. And then the kid's like, oh, that's interesting. Do you have any kids? And that's when I was like, oh, this is not a kid. This is some shit going on. And she's like, well, we had a daughter, but we lost her when she was 5. My husband is gone too, 13 years ago to this very day. And then the kid's like, oh, I had a pet hermit crab who died. I left him out in the sun too long. And then she says, oh, I could have sworn I parked right over there. This construction has me all turned around. I don't recognize this street. And he's like, oh, young lady, I meant to ask you. And then his eyes turn like black. He's like one of those black-eyed children. What are you hiding? And he's like saying it in this like evil, like, what are you hiding? And she's like, excuse me? And he's like, in the bag. Here, take a peek. And she looks at the bag, and he's like, like laughing in the background. And it's all these different bottles of cyanide and shit. And then it like fucking melts away. It's like acidic and melts away. And she's like, ah, fuck. And she drops the bag. And then her foot gets stuck, like melted into the ground. And she's like, oh no, I'm stuck. Help me. And then you see the steamroller fucking coming straight at her. And the kid says, your daughter went quick, but your husband had to be patient. Frank was a big man, wasn't he? Still, you gave it to him day by day, drop by drop, in his instant cinnamon oatmeal. Damn, very boomerish right there. And he's like, you poisoned him like you did your baby girl. Cynthia died in 2 short days, but it took 3 grueling years for you to put Frank in the ground. And then he's like, Scout's honor. And she's like, I didn't do anything. And he's like, yeah, that's right. Don't admit it. Please. He's like, please don't beg for forgiveness.
Dude, the creepiest part is like in the background, you can see his pin needle eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that shit's crazy.
That is crazy. And she's like, oh, no, stop. And then she just gets run the fuck over by this fucking steamroller. And then the blood splatters all over the face. And he's like, you mess with a kid, especially your own, and I mess with you. And you see his little badge on his fucking thing. It's like his evil face or whatever. And then it's just, you see the fucking body, the blood splatter and the fucking trail the steamroller leaves behind it. And there's just like a little fucking bit of just body left.
The remnants of the body.
And then all of a sudden, his little thing goes on, and he gets a fucking new badge, and it's a picture of a steamroller, and it says deliveries 18,231, and he's like, haha, yes. And then he's walking away, and he runs into somebody, and he goes, yo, and he's like, what do you want? And then it's a dude in a suit with Mr. X-Rays with the glasses, and he's like, I want out of here, but you're making that difficult. And so then we get the text boxes. It's like, it's almost like I imagine this movie would be like, that's me, I'm whatever. And then you want to know how I got in this situation? Like, this is basically what the equivalent of it is.
I gotta say, dude, this is one of the coolest. It's so simple, but it's effective. That this guy is wearing, a typical suit or whatever. But the thing that really stands out is the glasses,
X-ray glasses,
the X-ray
yeah.
glasses. Simple but effective character design, man. This is the cool shit ever.
Yeah, it really is. And so he's like, where is here, you ask? There's a street just around the corner, both familiar and unknown. It repeats the same thing from the beginning. And he says, it's a place where the wicked and cruel are drawn to the crossroads of morality and madness with the inevitable destination of not merely death, but something far worse. It's a place we call Hyde Street. And he says, you work too slow, Mr. X. You always do. And he's like, hey, man, unraveling someone takes time, Pranky. It's an art, not a demolition job. And then Pranky says, a steamroller says different. And he's like, listen, man, death isn't the goal. Damnation is. If the woman had asked for forgiveness, she'd have slipped right through your fingers. And he's like, but she didn't, did she? Besides, that old lady under the asphalt's a kid killer. And then Mr. X-Ray says, regardless, there is an understanding among us. If we're the first to greet someone who stumbles onto Hyde Street, they're ours to guide, or misguide if we so choose. And then the kid says, not according to the scorekeeper. See this badge? He gave me the point. There are rules on Hyde Street, Pranky. And Pranky says, yeah, and there's only one I care about. Finders, keepers, losers, weepers, Mr. Peepers. And then he runs off, a little bastard. And then Mr. X-Ray is giving some exposition. He says, those of us caught at this twisted intersection of reality and illusion are known simply as the residents. Like the boy, we all had a life before Hyde Street, a story. But make no mistake, it's only the beginning. And you just hear, come on, Freddy. And you see the cutout of on a page of the Mr. X-Ray glasses. And it's one of those old like ads or whatever. And he's like gluing it onto the fucking thing. What fool is going to believe those glasses actually work? And he's like, yo, man, kids will believe it, Jim. Kids are stupid. And he's like, oh, that's me, or who I used to be, Mr. Frederick Xavier Ray. Back then, I could sell a cat to a mouse. And it says, it's in 1966. It was the golden age of advertising, a time of glittering promise and cunning persuasion. Like many working on Madison Avenue, I was nothing unique, just another man molded by reputation and greed. Yet for reasons beyond my comprehension, I would soon become something more, a permanent fixture, a figure to beware on Hyde Street. Now meet Jim Smith, a graphic designer by trade and a sad sack by circumstance. His talent made him useful, but his newly grown conscience quarrelsome. And this is Jim saying, why does it have to be kids we're targeting, Freddy? And Freddy says, it's getting adults to part with money can be tricky, Jimmy. The kids are easy, man. But brine, and then he shows him one of those fucking those brine shrimp things. Like, remember the South Park where
Sea monkeys
or whatever, and it's like sitting on thrones, and they're all fucking whatever. And he's like, they don't brine shrimp don't sit on thrones, and they don't live in castles, none of which are included. And he's like, yo, everyone in the world lies, Jim. We're all a commercial for someone we're not. Remember what Mr. Milton had plastered on the walls of our old office? Sell them what they want to believe. And he's like, yeah, sell them what they want to believe. And kids want this all to be real. X-ray glasses, piranha people, giant-sized monsters. And Jimmy says, but it's not. We're disappointing thousands of American children with this mail-order junk. And he says, oh, this is all beneath you, is that, Jim? Don't get on a high horse now. And he puts on the glasses and he's like, I see who you really are. And then it kind of like, it goes into this fucking like, almost like an X-ray fucking vision or whatever. And he's like, don't tell me you can see my skeleton, Freddy. And he's like, oh no, but I can see the ones in your closet, Jim. And then it goes on to do this this exposition about how it's telling Jim's backstory, talking about they used to work together and they worked at this big advertising firm. And this guy was an artist. Frankie was or Freddie was like a sales guy or whatever. And he basically is saying about, man, we worked all those late nights and you just need a little something to keep you up. And he's like, I gave you some of these pills, kept wanting more. And man, that shit wasn't cheap. And then, you got caught embezzling and you were out on the street. And basically, he says when they fired you, I walked away in solidarity. And then he's like, yeah, you got caught embezzling too, Freddie. And so then, but who was the last guy to give you a place to sleep? Who was the last guy to do anything for you? When your wife left and she took the kids and they all told you to fuck off, it was me, man. I did it. And he's like, I kept quiet about your fall from grace. Somehow word got around and jobs dried up, man. No one would hire you. And so he's like, I came up with this last ditch effort, this get rich quick scheme. We're gonna sell all this crazy bullshit to children. He's like, but yet every morning I watch you stare out of the window way up here on the 14th floor. I know you're not daydreaming of what was or what could be next, Jim. No, you're wondering, is this the day I jump?
Yeah.
He's like, but it never is. And that's good, Jim. That's very good. We all have skeletons in our closet. Don't let any hypocrite tell you different. As long as I'm around, Jim, you'll be around too. And he's like, and soon we're both going to be very fucking rich, because they hear this knock on the door. And it's the mail guy, and he's like, hi, this is Mr. X-Rays Novelties. Is this Mr. X-Rays Novelties Incorporated? He's like, indeed it is, my good man. You're speaking with Mr. Freddie Xavier Ray himself. He's like, wow, clever. I need you to sign this thing from South America. The thing inside won't stop trying to claw its way out. And he's like, oh, shit. He's like, Jim, give me a banana. And he's like, this is my $1 million idea. And he's like, what is it? The pet sensation of 1966. It's the pygmy marmoset, Jim. The world's smallest monkey.
Monkey.
And it's Monkey. And the monkey is terrified inside there. He's like, Jesus Christ. And so, of course, the monkey jumps out and starts fucking running around the office. And the monkey, I like how they draw the sight line to the banana to show, the monkey sees the banana.
Yeah.
And so he goes and grabs the banana. The monkey's running away, and he's like, oh, fuck yeah, I got him. And, of course, the window's open. Monkey bites Freddy's hand. And fucking, he's like, oh, fuck it, let's go. And tosses the monkey out the fucking window with the banana and all. Splats on the pavement. He's like, damn, that poor monkey. And he's like, yep, 14 floors down. Well, at least it was quick. There's probably worse ways to go. And so then you just hear some people talking in the background. And this is the fat-free. I'm sure this is what that next thing is about, is this. Because it's like some fat-free clinic or whatever, and it's like that next one, that Devour, was like that little thing that they're selling that's like it's like to lose fat or whatever, be skinny all the time or some shit.
I have a feeling that woman's name is going to be because they had that. Well, I'll say it afterwards.
Yeah. And so it's like this dialogue of someone inside that shop saying, "Oh, we're here for my granddaughter. She's getting married. I thought we could give her something special, extra special for her big day." And she's like, "What is this place?" And it's like, "Oh, the solution to all your problems." And so Mr. X-Ray's walking through, and he's like, here's the monkey eeping, and he's like, I'm in no mood for your antics today. I don't know how many more times I can apologize. And the monkey's just like, you son of a bitch. And he said, I said I was sorry. Fuck, man. And you just hear, help, somebody help me. And it's somebody running through. And he's like, I don't want to fix my face anymore, but they won't listen. He's like, I wish I could, buddy, but, it's not how this works. And he's like, Dr. Rigo is waiting, Mr. Tyler. And the doc has a very busy schedule. He's like, no, don't take me back. I changed my mind. And he says, I could do what the boy does. I could take this patient right now for myself, or even show him the way out. But I don't want to get on the doctor's bad side. I have enough enemies here as it is, and no friends to speak of. And it cuts back to them at Jim and him at the office, and he's like, you're not going to sleep in the office again, are you, Jim? He's like, you scared the hell out of the cleaning lady last week. Jim? And he's asleep, and he says, well, Jim would jump out of the window the next day. Those who survive the fall often describe a single chilling thought in midair. This was a mistake. Regret becomes their sole companion in that long but brief descent. I wonder if Jim shared that sentiment on his way down. And so then he's walking out, and he says, can I help you? And it's just some kid, and he's like, what do you want, kid? And so basically this kid's like his daughter, and she's basically saying how she's like, Daddy, Mommy died. She was very sick, and I found this letter in her desk, but she never mailed it. And he's like, listen, kid, I got it. And he's like, oh, fuck. He's like, you're Judy? She's like, I'm living with my uncle, but he's mean. He's awfully mean. He's like, her brother? Your mom wouldn't have left him with you the way he drinks. I told her I didn't want anything to do with this. She said she'd leave me out of it. And she's like, can I come with you, Daddy? And he's like, stop fucking calling me that.
And then there's that panel. There's weird shit going on. Some paranormal shit.
Paranormal shit in the background. And then she runs away crying. And he's like, Judy, wait, Judy. And then the staircase is like fucking super long. And then he goes and runs down. And you go outside the building. It's 6999. And he's like, where the hell? And he's like, it wasn't Madison Avenue. and you see on the street sign, looks like, and you see, hey, mister. And you see that little bastard fucking standing there. He's like, how about some ice cold lemonade? I'm raising money for orphans and the blind. Come on, mister, just one glass. And he's like, yo, did you see a little girl? And he's like, did you see a girl or not? Maybe. What's she matter to you? And then he fucking has the x-ray shit in his eyes. I was no saint before I found myself on Hyde Street, a man with a few dark chapters written in the margins of his life. But the people I've encountered here, they make my past seem as harmless as a lemonade stand on a hot summer's day. Soon enough, you'll meet some of them. Though there is one who stands apart, presiding over it all, a presence more malevolent than the rest. The architect of this twisted reality. He has no story, no past that we know of, only half-seen moments and dark demands. We call him the scorekeeper. And then you just hear this like, you have a talent, Mr. Ray, and you will use it for me if you want a way back. And so he's out there smoking, and he's like, yo, come out here, we need to talk. And it's this dilapidated down fucking like tree house. It's got like heads on stakes around it and shit dangling. Got a fucking dream catcher, and he's like, don't make me burn down your treehouse again. And then the kid pops out, and he's reading some Junkyard Joe, the fucking comic, and he's like, what do you want now? He's like, yo, I've kept out of all your affairs. I expect that courtesy in return. He's like, yo, we're all playing the same game, old man. Your time has passed, old man, or whatever.
The future's now.
Yeah. He's like, let's not forget, it's because of you I'm stuck in this nightmare, you insufferable pest. And so the kid fucking takes a slingshot and he fucking shoots something at him, a rock at him. He's like, you grown-ups always love calling me names, don't you? And he's like, fuck. And he's like, I'm doing the exact opposite of everything you said. I'm going after every poor sap who sets foot on Hyde Street. And you'll all be trapped here. And then as he retreats back, he's like, yeah, he's got this like Gollum fucking evil look.
Yeah.
And he's like, you'll all be trapped here forever. And then his fucking head's bleeding, and he's like, fuck. He's like, nope, that can't be my fate. I won't let it be. I will escape Hyde Street, even if it means damning 10,000 others to do it. So then he walks away from the thing, and then it goes back to this thing called Hyde Street. It's like a scoreboard. It says Hyde Street on it. It says deliveries. And you've got all these fucking names. You've got Nanny Nursey, the Colonist, the Demon Within, Lady Lost Eyes, the Butcher of Hyde Street, the Chain, Sister Hood, Circus Clown, the Matinee Monster, Pranky, who is the kid who has 18,000 fucking deliveries, Mr. X-Ray with 2,100. You got Raquel Vane, which I think that's the lady, or no, Miss Goodbody's the lady who's going to be.
It's one of those two.
It's one of them two. Miss Goodbody or Raquel Vane. Then you got Dr. Ego, Green Blood, and Gen Z. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then that says next is the tragic and terrible tale of Pip Pranky Peabody, which is probably going to tell us how the kid got there. And then we get this cover of It Happened on Hyde Street, and it's called Devour. One shot. It's this lady with this fucking improved formula Devour, like, I don't know, it's like some supplement or whatever. It says, get thin or die trying. And that's going to be pretty fucking interesting.
I think this is a very cool concept. I don't think it's original because it's not exactly, well, at least in a manga, an anime that exists called Gantz.
Yeah.
There's something about people passing away and then going into this afterlife game, and depending on how many things they end up doing, they get points, right? And you can use those points to bring somebody back to life, or it's something like this, but it's a little bit different. So I don't know exactly how the what the rules are for this world is, but it's kind of cool because it's like each character could be their own Crypt Keeper-esque character. I mean, not exactly. Like they obviously have their own machinations of how they trick people into coming into Hyde Street so that they can torture them or do whatever and get their points. But it's like, okay, on the superficial level, you have maybe 20 characters that are part of like the Hyde Street reality,
right? Yeah.
And then within that, within each character, you have like a Twilight Zone-esque story about one person experiencing one of these characters on Hyde Street. Like, that's very fucking cool.
Yeah, it is pretty fucking cool. So this was a good fucking find or whatever, and this is gonna be good. I'm excited to continue reading this as the issues come out.
Hopefully, it's a bi-weekly series so we can get this twice a month. But I'm not entirely sure.
I don't know either. I mean, at least we're gonna get the one shot at the end of the month, and then I don't know when the next issue of this is gonna come out of Hyde Street proper. But I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, I'm looking forward to it. So if you are too, you can check out all of our other shit on YouTube. at Game Rage Magazine. Like, comment, and subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Game Rage Magazine, Twitter/X at Game Rage Mag. You can follow Adam at All Gas No Trash Official, and you can follow Frank at Anime_Syndicate_podcast. All right, that's it. Catch you guys on the next one.
That was Panel to Panel, the Game Rage Magazine comic book podcast. Thanks for listening. If you want to know more and follow along, go to Instagram and TikTok. Follow at Game Rage Magazine. If you want to follow on Twitter/X at Game Rage Mag. Tune in next time.